fellow gamers, I'm Gloryhound, and this is the lovely Dr. Gloryhogg here with me today, and it's Kickstarter show day. We haven't been around in a while. This is our first stream in the last few weeks. Hello, Omar. How are you doing? Yeah, things have been crazy.
Yes.
Is that my big lead-in? Oh. No, you're supposed to talk about things being crazy.
Well, I mean, most of the craziness happened kind of on your end, though. I mean,
yeah,
as far
absolutely.
As, everything's happened. You got a new job and everything. Then we switched out some, your computer because your job got you a new computer and stuff. So,
brand new computer, everyone.
As far as my end, nothing. I played a little bit of Lego. What was it? Lego DC Villains.
Hello, Beyond Dead.
I'm playing a new app game. That's about all I got going on right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have been a little bit sporadic, hoping, though, in the next few weeks, I actually have the next few weeks off. So I'm hoping to do more streaming. I'm really excited about it.
Solo streaming.
Well,
because I'm not off. But we've gotten a lot of really good games, though. We actually got a chance to play Destinies on the Extra Credit Twitch yesterday, which was cool.
Absolutely. And we have the Sea of Sands portion of Destiny's in now, and so I'm really excited to play that as well.
Oh, that's true.
There's so many games I'm excited to play, everyone.
People are getting Uprising, and we've got Dino World, and we've got the World of Warcraft, Pandemic Legacy.
We have Final Girl that I want to play.
Yeah.
There's tons of new stuff.
Star Wars. Hello,
Battle Cry. So new computers, sweet. I need to build a new one early next year. Yeah, this one was from iBuyPower, and so I got to kind of build it along the way, but not personally build it. Really excited. So
I don't know anything about computers.
It's going to last a while. I just want to play, I want to play Inscription. Sorry, we're just going to talk about everything we want to play, apparently.
A lot. There's a lot.
There's so much we want to play. We'll see in just a minute, Omar. Yeah, I need to test the computer, everyone. So I want to play Inscription, which is a really fun deck building sort of game.
And then also, this
roguelike
also happens to be the time of year where there's just not as many Kickstarters typically.
Right.
Not as many are launched. Last year was decent. There were some really big weeks and some kind of slow weeks and stuff. But usually there's not as much because it gets close to this time. Most people don't want to spend $100 on a Kickstarter and then not see it for another year. They were going to probably spend that money on Christmas gifts or holiday gifts right now.
In general, and just purchasing board games for the family and stuff.
Which, if you just disown everyone you know, no gifts.
Ta-da! Pro tips, everyone.
Money-saving tips.
Pro tips, everyone. We're not going to talk about this right away. Sorry, we're going to talk about this one
this
here.
One right away.
This one,
I don't know much about this franchise. What is this franchise about?
You're joking. You're joking. You're 100% joking. This is Borderlands, the board game. There's something in Badassery, all sorts of crazy lingo for it. It's by Monster Fight Club. This is for 1 to 4 players. Should last about 60 minutes here. This is sort of a scenario-based game where you're going to be playing the characters in Borderlands, and you're going to be meeting, I guess, characters in Borderlands. You're using the weapons from Borderlands. It's based off of the video game.
So this is based off of a wrestling video game, right?
No.
That's like Savage or Hulk, right? Hulk Hogan.
No, this
is who that was?
Specifically based off of the Borderlands video game.
So what is the video game about? Please tell me.
Well, the video game is really interesting because you're vault hunters and you're basically going around these planets and you're looking for vaults to loot them in order to get sweet loots and sell that loot and become rich, I guess. But you always have this sort of story where you're this underdog. I think that's what I really like about it. You're the underdog kind of in this, and you have some special abilities and everything. And then you work your way through the tundra looking for vaults, but also fighting these ridiculously mutated people that have been living on these lands. And that's the funny part. Well, that's the funny part, though, is
it's
characters
kind of,
you meet.
Mad Max in space. Right?
Kind of, yeah, like Mad Max in space. What do you guys think?
I like to think if there's just any small change, people can't get cheddar cheese, we all go right to Mad Max style.
That's how it happens. You don't get toilet paper, and then it becomes Borderlands, the board game.
Basically. So Borderlands is something that we've played a lot of.
Yes, I love Borderlands so much. It's so funny. This is an entity that I super, super love.
It's just really ridiculous. There's not very many games you can find ammo in a toilet.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Although it's a first-person shooter game, for the video game, it's really, really thematic and RPG-like, where you're like getting all these special weapons and everything to outfit yourself in.
Right. All the RPG-ness is like your skills that you unlock and your weapons and stuff.
Yeah, and you want to talk to people and stuff in this game. Like, you want to run around and find out their stories.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah, because they are ridiculous, you know?
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
You run into people and they're in a bandit camp and hanging upside down in their underwear because, like, you know, they got caught. And then you, like, got to free them. And, like, they're just chilling out, like, walking down the aisle. Like, it's so funny. It's ridiculous.
Okay, I can see why you would think the cover reminds you of Wasteland Delivery Service. They are a similar
vastly
art style.
Different games, though. Vastly different games. Wasteland Express is like...
It's just a pick up and deliver.
It's a pick up and deliver game with marketing sort of stuff in it, and I love that game. I never have enough time to do everything I want to in that game.
Because it's about a 2-hour game with 2 players.
Where this one is more like, you know, you're going through hexes, you're doing some skirmishes, you're fighting people and everything in this game here. So, Doctor, what are your first impressions on this game?
Well, so, of course, it's a Borderlands game, so I immediately wanted to back it, right? Like, I started looking at it and kind of going through it. As I went through the gameplay stuff, it seems like it's fairly lighter. Like, it seems more, well, like an arena skirmish game versus the way the game is, where it's, like you said, kind of like a role-playing game where you, like, level up and you unlock a bunch of things. This seems more like just kind of like more of like a skirmish game, but not super in-depth. Right? It's got like a lot of die rolling and stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. Yeah, you are going to be rolling dice in this game and everything combined with your weapons. I think my favorite part of this is the art in the game because they were 100% true to the actual art. Like, I love this because you visit these machines and you get your weapons and like medical stuff and everything from these machines and your ammo. Like, I love that stuff so much. But I'm kind of sad a little bit about this because although they went like the third degree in the art and like the miniatures and stuff like that, I feel like other than this being like a light skirmish game, I don't know what else this game really is.
Right, and in the game itself, the only time you really do that is you can battle against another player if you want to.
Yeah.
Or you can, I mean, you do have battles all the time when you fight, but that's not really where the charm of the game comes in. I don't think. I think the charm comes in from like the characters and just the ridiculous stuff you're doing, and everything is explosions and fire and acid and all kinds of crazy stuff happen, right? And so I think that honestly, I was really excited about it, but then when I started looking at it, it seems a little bit lighter than I was expecting. And a lot of what Borderlands is all the excitement, the explosions, the fast-paced things that are happening to you, and you know, all these different things are all very fast-paced, right? And everything's very fast-paced. And I think once you distill it down to a board game, inherently you slow everything way down to where you're like, I'm going to roll 2 die. I'm going to check my cards. Does this hit? Oh, I get to add a +1 because of this card. Oh, I want to upgrade this card. It slows everything down to a way where I think it takes away from the excitement of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, Beyond says, I can't say I ever remember what the plot to Borderlands game actually is, other than the missions, then you fight your way to collect something.
Yeah, I mean, the general idea is you are a vault hunter, and so you end up looking for vaults for various reasons, for profit, or because you think there's going to be something bad if somebody else gets to the vault first. Or whatever. But yeah, it is mostly running around. But I think the side missions and the little missions are the most fun part, right? Like the vault's cool because you want a bunch of loot. But there's so many other cool things you run across along the way. Just really weird stuff like finding parts of Claptrap and then finding out how they died and all these different things like that. And bringing the parts back and then find out Claptrap's trying to make himself a girlfriend.
Right.
Claptrap being the robot. So there's like a bunch of little funny stuff like that kind of happens. And you get, you know, bonus points for running over people in spectacular ways and run around as an assassin. So there's a lot of like, the fun stuff I think is more in the game itself, not the actual main storyline.
Well, it's based, exactly. It's based on the wild tales that happen throughout the story. And I feel like since that is a key part of what defines Borderlands, I think that they missed that particular mark. Like they hit all of the outside stuff, like looking from afar sort of stuff on it, because everything looks fantastic. But as of right now, like, I don't know, as far as like the campaign portion of it goes, if that's hitting the mark for me. And that might actually be done for a reason.
Thing. Well, the reason why I say that is it's a you thing. I think for people that typically follow our channel that play a lot of board games, they're just used to having a more fleshed out board game, where this one, is going to be lighter. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. There's going to be a lot of people that enjoy it. I think this aims more towards people, though, that enjoy the video game franchise.
Right,
and just want to have another way to tap into that world. Same thing kind of happened with Tiny Tina's Robot Death Party or Robot Death Tea Party. It was cute.
It was a cute game.
It was fun, but it was essentially flipping over cards, and then it was like, oh, it's been 15 minutes and it's over. And so it was fun for like half a second, and then it was just like, would I play this over any other game? And
you got to build your like little claptrap in that game and stuff, which was super cute. And here's the thing, though, is that the majority of people going out to the video game market, that's probably going to be like great for them because they're not really looking for this in-depth board game experience like we are.
Like a 15-minute game or an hour or less game, right? Yeah. Where it's just kind of like easy to get into, easy to play, and then easy to put up, if that makes sense. Where we look for more campaign, like. I think some of the best part is that continuous leveling up, and I don't think you can really reach that the same way by having just cards. Being like, oh, this is how you level up, and this is your card, and you got to read this card to remember like what the stat does or whatever. I don't think you can really simulate the way that the game works, and the random crits and all that kind of stuff.
The really interesting thing that I feel like we ran into many, many times this year with like, gosh, there's been so many video game board games that I feel like that have come out.
Right, and there's different ways you can go. Like Witcher went super heavy into story. So I feel like you're going to be doing more story exploration than you are going to be just fighting. Which makes sense because it's
a Witcher-style game.
Right, so like that I feel like went the other way, where this one I felt is more like they focus on just the fighting aspect of it while neglecting the story, which a lot of Borderlands is the funniness that happens while you're doing all the fighting.
Right, absolutely. So like this is a really tough line to walk, I think, for companies and how to make things in-depth enough to appeal to board gamers while not so in-depth that video gamers aren't going to want to tackle this as like a game that they want to play. Like all the coolness factors are here. I feel like if you are coming from a video game platform, you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like I would love to do this and play this with my friends and stuff at home. But as far as the board game crossover into a board game group of people, I don't feel like for me, who loves playing in-depth story and strategy games and stuff like that, this hits a very light mark. And even when you compare this to like a regular skirmish game, again, I'm like, what makes this different from other things other than just the theme? So it's like...
Right, if you were to strip away the theme, you would be hard-pressed to figure out why you want to play this.
Everything looks so cool, though.
When you look at Monster Fight Club and what they've done on Kickstarter, they've done like 6 projects. 3 of them were just terrain.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, one of them was like Tentacle Town, which was like another kind of silly light game.
Yeah.
So they don't really have a lot of experience with these big IPs, right? These
that
big
reminds me of
intellectual properties.
Of something, because, you know, I go through and I'm looking at all these. I wanted to look at the designer of this game, and it is the same designer that has done, he started Gale Force 9 and did a bunch of games like the Firefly game. Remember Firefly, the board game? Like, that was a good game, but, like, it took forever to set up.
It took a really long time, and there was ways you could get around stuff. I remember when I played
I'm not saying this would, but...
I remember when I played it the first time, I just decided to go all roguey and just went all in and just rolled some dice, and I ended up, you know, doing some cool stuff, and I ended up winning just because I risked it. I just went in.
So, Star Trek Ascendancy, like you said, Tentacle Town, they've created quite a few games now and everything.
Okay, so the designer's done a few games, but none of them are, like, games that... I don't know, would have a super high complexity rating on BGG, for example.
Right, exactly. So, but they all fall in that range where they're taking a lot of IP sort of stuff and kind of translating stuff over and trying to make it into a board game sort of feel to things.
Which is hard. I feel like Firefly was almost easier because Firefly as a show is about
Space
exploration.
Cowboys.
Well, it's about exploration, right?
Yeah.
It's not just fighting. Where this game is based a lot on story and fighting, it's hard to merge both those together in a fun, exciting, in-your-face type of way.
Absolutely. Hello, Studio Lanniston. So this...
And when you go through the campaign, you can tell, too, because they have, like, 1 how to play video, 1, like, it being played video, maybe 2 where they also played it, but, like, 1 outside person doing it. And then they had, like, 3 or 4 videos about painting them. So it was almost like they put the emphasis on the minis, the models, the franchise, more than they did on the actual gameplay.
Well, absolutely.
Because I was really looking for how the gameplay really worked out. And then when I was watching the video of it, no fault of the reviewers, as it's going along, it's pretty slow. They're like, okay, well, this gun has a range of 2 or 3, and then I can do this. And it just really takes away all the excitement, all the explosions, all the badassery that comes from Borderlands itself, right?
All the skags that they're going to run you over, you know?
Right, like, when those skags go, and they're like, you know, start spitting at you and stuff, and you got to run over there and shoot them. I mean, come on, that's fun.
Studio Lanniston says, hello, YouTube only now just told me you were live. We're going to scold YouTube later for that. How dare they?
So I think this one, and most of the people, interestingly, picked the middle tier, which was the one that's going to come with all the stretch goals and comes with a few expansions, but they didn't take the biggest tier, which is like $300.
Right.
And they didn't take the base one because the base pledge does not come with stretch goals.
Right.
Which kind of stinks. I don't like when company.
I'm not a fan of that.
I don't know why some companies do that, where you just don't get stretch goals if you go in for the base. Like,
then why even back it on Kickstarter?
There's no point then. You might as well just wait for retail unless they're offering you a discount, which usually the shipping outweighs
don't even have this thing then.
Deluxe,
just have your.
And if you need a super deluxe, that's fine. But like, don't have a base if you're not going to even give me stretch goals. Right. You're just giving me.
And I feel
retail.
like at that point, it almost becomes where like, if I did back it, some people would expect having those stretch goals, right? Because it is coming from Kickstarter, and it shows up, and you're like, what the heck? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that, but everyone can make their own campaign the way they want.
Absolutely, and everybody can make their own choices that they want. I want to know in chat. Are you backing this game? I know we talked about it on Discord whenever it first came out.
And I was excited.
So I was really excited too.
Let's check this out.
Yeah. Doctor, are you backing this game?
No, I think this game might actually work better with some app-supported thing going on or something.
I like how you also have like your super awesome Borderlands shirt on too.
This is a regular shirt.
Right here, this lovely in support of Borderlands shirt.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think maybe this one, if it was app-supported, would be almost more interesting, right? Because the game is. Like, if you had Torgue come on and start to be like, whoa, that was crazy, and he starts talking about all this badassery that's happening, like, that could add a little bit to it. Or if Claptrap came on to give you your missions, and they used the voice actor, and Claptrap was telling you what you were going to be doing and why you're fighting.
Takes a lot more work, though.
It does. Yeah, but that would add a lot of that immersion into it, right?
Yeah.
It is hard to go from video game to board game. I feel like it's easier to go almost the other way. But then sometimes...
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's absolutely easier to go the other way.
But like Lucky Duck Games has done a really good job with it.
Of the integration.
If they would have brought in somebody from that team maybe to help integrate it, it would have been a little bit different, right? Because can you imagine if you played something like Destiny's but Borderlands, right? Where you still went around, you still did things, but like it's mostly app supported. You're flipping over tiles.
Yeah.
You might have a mission to go over there and do something kind of like you do in the game where it's like collect 12 skag meat and you have to run around and fight skags to get skag meat drops.
Yeah.
So like that would have been probably more interesting to have it integrated with an app, and probably even for video game players, than just having just cards and just dice.
Probably. But that's not what's offered here today. Never played Borderlands, so nope, says Battlecry.
Studio would rather just play the video game, which that's kind of where I'm at, too.
I think that's kind of where I'm at as well. As much as I love skirmish sort of games, this one just didn't hit the right notes for me. I see Borderlands within the game, but I don't see Borderlands.
Yeah, you need the link explosion. Studio Landis says, without seeing when you open that chest and it just goes and stuff comes flying out. I mean, that's half of it right there.
Yeah.
You need that.
And it's really sad because I was really, really excited to, like, I thought it was going to be an insta-back for me whenever I went into it. Because I love Borderlands so much.
Tiny Tina and stuff like that. But it wasn't a game that we kept for a long period of time because it was very...
super light.
Yes. And we just don't need a lot lot of those. We don't have a lot of those in our collection because we tend to lean medium to heavier games.
Absolutely.
Very few light games.
Absolutely.
Like, our light games are more like the party games, like just one or something.
Well, so let's see here.
That's the loot explosion part right there.
So, next up.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Vaesen the RPG.
I call it Vaesen.
Is it?
I don't know.
Vaesen? Maybe it's Vaesen.
That
They're from Sweden, so maybe Vaesen. Hello, Jolly Lumpy. How are you doing? It's so good to see everybody here.
On the windswept highlands.
Yeah, we went ahead and had... Hold on, let me pause it. Let me pause it before we start going. So we actually were going to stream yesterday, but it was my first time streaming yesterday on this new PC, so it was a mess making sure I had everything set up. So we missed the time. So it was late, but we hope to be back on most Fridays. We'll see, okay?
If she can get her job together.
We're really hoping to play some games this week with all of you.
But like I said earlier, we did actually get a chance to play Destiny's on the extra credit Twitch.
Absolutely.
So that was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I was glad that we got back to that game.
All right, so this one here is an RPG, and we don't usually talk about RPGs on this channel, but this one...
I wanted to.
I feel like it's worth mentioning because you did pick this one, and I understand why you picked it because it's based off of like Gaelic sort of folklore.
Gothic, horror.
Yeah.
RPG based off of Britain, Ireland, Scotland, all those areas, right?
Yeah, and their folklore, which is fantastic because it's a folklore that is rich in lots and lots of culture because it's been around for a really long time.
But it's horror based and it's based off of like the grim tales, right? So when you're doing stuff, if you run across a leprechaun, he's probably not going to give you Lucky Charms. It's going to probably be bad, right? If you run across fairies, they might be bad. You know,
it's like you have the Lucky Charms leprechaun, and then you have like the leprechaun from the horror movies. Right. And I'm sure it's somewhere in between there, somewhere. Okay.
I feel like that's how most people are. That's how most people are.
You're in between the leprechaun and the leprechaun. Yeah, so like you have that duality in your nature. Yeah,
because part of me wants to like run around and chop people up, but the other part of me wants to give people delicious cereal. So it's very like hit or miss for me.
Oh, so Studio Lanniston says, I was watching the Destiny's gameplay yesterday, but Twitch wouldn't let me comment because I don't want to give them my phone number.
Yeah, you have to be like a verified on Twitch. But that's something
Thank you so much, though.
That's something that we'll probably be doing too, is streaming on Fridays on the Extra Credits Twitch
Credits
But that
Twitch
could
channel,
be video, but it's probably going to be more video game based with maybe some app integrated games
Which we may play Borderlands on there, everyone.
Borderlands 3. So yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, look at this leprechaun. He doesn't seem like he's going to be okay with you taking his pot of gold.
Like, or his Lucky Charms.
Do you feel like he'd be okay with
that?
I don't think so.
He has some cool keys. Look at these keys.
So it kind of reminds me of why we like games like Tainted Grail and some of those ones, is because they take like the horror stories, the mythology of where like not everything is good, right? Not every fairy is going to be great. Like Pan's Labyrinth was really good at exploring.
Oh, Pan's Labyrinth with the fairies was, they were creepy.
Right, of like kind of showing you that these tales were like cautionary tales. They weren't like, the big bad wolf wasn't supposed to be like, haha, big bad wolf. It's supposed to be like, no, he's going to eat you.
No,
yeah,
you're going to die.
Wears grandma's skin. It's not great. It's not great.
It's going to be a happy story.
Right? Like, this is the hag, you know, and she looks like somebody I used to know. So it's very much an RPG set in a horror. So it kind of gives you, I think, one of the RPGs we really enjoyed was Vampire the Masquerade.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like this is going to kind of take you kind of more down that path where like...
It's funny that you mentioned Vampire the Masquerade.
You're not the powerful one. These other creatures are. And then trying to kind of solve that is very interesting. And it started off with Nordic in all those, which Nordic gets real dark. You want to talk about dark. Mm-hmm. The Nords were not messing around.
No, they were not.
It was cold a lot there. And so they had like really chilling stories. Yeah. They were like, all our stories are about dark and coldness. And you're like, yeah, it's real bad. And then you've got, you know, Britain and Ireland. So it's an interesting thing. I think the only thing that would hold me back from backing this is the time to play an RPG. Like, who's going to run this for me? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if it was in a board game form, it'd be mostly ran by the game itself. This is obviously just a straight up role-playing game. You need a storyteller to start this.
Here's the thing. If you're into Gothic-style horror games and you like your RPGs, I totally recommend backing this RPG. And it is funny that you mentioned the Vampire the Masquerades thing and the feel of that, because the writer on this has actually done writing for, I think it was Warhammer and Vampire the Masquerade, which are...
Graham Davis?
Yeah, here we go. Grim Davis, right here. So,
Enemy Within,
Warhammer, the fantasy role-playing game, Vampire the Masquerade, Colonial Gothic, and Total War. Ooh. And yeah, so he's very, very reputable in his writing and stuff like that. So I feel like you're going to get all of the entities that you know. Also, this has all sorts of credentials with people that have played it before. Yeah, it's won many awards.
The Nordic one won awards.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, and this is going to be like, I think the second one,
And then the artist, which I also thought was fantastic and everything on this here, is a Swedish illustrator and author. So you know that they've already grown up in...
There's a good chance they grew up in this world.
Right, exactly. Okay. And hearing these things and everything. And the art in it is super, super beautiful. The other thing with this game here is if you back it, the alpha PDF is ready to go. So they're going to send that out to everybody if you go ahead and back this game. So you already know that this game it's not in the beginning phases of the creation. Yeah, absolutely. They're wrapping it up. They're finishing play
happens with RPGs on Kickstarter sometimes is you go to back it and then it still might take a year and you're like, did you not write any of this? Like this is you're going to write this? Which could be a little bit riskier, right?
The starting price on this is about $40 if you want to get everything in on here. If you want to get like the printed books and stuff like that, which I always like. I always like getting printed books and PDFs and stuff
Especially
like that.
For base content, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you were going to do a supplement, I can get that in a PDF and like look at it after I've already played the base game. But if you're going to get a core book, I feel like you always need a core book in actual hardback so you can go and reference it. There's something about flipping through it and finding stuff. And Kabuki says that they've heard that the theme is even darker than the art portrays.
Ooh,
so
I
it looks
love
like
it.
it's supposed to be very dark. And I thought,
love it.
although we've got some board games that kind of dabble into that, mostly just like Tainted Grail, and maybe something like that other one we have, Acrophobia.
Yeah.
That's one that kind of delves into that range. There's not a lot that actually go into that as much, right? Most of the board games are like stories of like heroic Vikings or stories of like King Arthur himself, but not the dark, twisted things that were there during those times. And I don't know, I'm always a big fan of that.
They even unlocked a soundtrack for this game, which is super exciting.
Well, you got the Wild Hunt, which is very Witcher-esque, right? I mean, that's talked about in there. You've got the Puka, I think is one of the ones I saw. The Boggart. Like, these are all names I've heard of, these different stories and myths and everything. Mm-hmm. So these are some very interesting, they got some interesting lore they're tapping into, right?
Absolutely. So if you are a fan of RPGs in general, I totally recommend backing this one. It's like you said, I wish we had time to play RPGs because
that's the biggest thing that's going to hold me back.
Yeah, this is one I would want to play 100%. Like I want to back that. I still back RPGs, everyone. I still back RPGs to play at some point in my life, I guess. Like
I'm very tempted to still back this at least at the base level that will give me hardcover book.
I feel like
But I think I think you might need the Nordic one also. The Nordic one and then like the Mythic Britain one.
Okay.
And I would be good with that. But this one also has like a holiday or another one with a bunch of other adventures. But what's cool is like not only do they give you like stats for the characters, they also give you like seed hooks for like the story, like story hooks. So you can be like, oh, okay, here's a reason why you might run into this character and stuff like that. So, but it is definitely something, it's not a full out adventure that's going to give you step by step what to do. There's some of that in there.
Absolutely.
But like I tend to lean towards those adventure supplements that give you like the story and then I kind of supplement within that. Like
you're gonna need to know some stuff about RPGs.
Yeah.
In order to.
You need an actual storyteller for this one.
Yes. Or if you think that you are brave enough to venture in and be a storyteller, it's fantastic. You can go in there and read everything. You should have everything you need.
And this one did say if you're going to try to run this one for children, you would have to have somebody modify it because it is dark.
It is, absolutely. So, chat, are you backing this? I know we have some RPG lovers out there. I believe Kabuki said that they were one of them. RPGs are the most dangerous things to go back on Kickstarter. They fail a lot now.
Yeah, at least
this one won't do that. Yeah.
Right, since it's like the second one they've done, the other one won awards, they definitely want to get more of this out.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kabuki. There are definitely some RPGs that are dangerous to back out there, and usually a lot of them are like the tiny supplements of stuff, because sometimes you don't know what you're always going to get. I feel like I have the biggest failure with that.
Like the little
that sort of
zines
stuff.
more?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to
books.
get with some of those zines and everything.
Because they might give you a really good pitch, but then when you get it and it's not quite what you thought, or it's very cheaply made or something.
It's a weakness of Kabuki. So
it's tough. Like I said, I still am very tempted to back this at some level.
So Studio Linison says, but the only pure RPG I've backed is some stuff for Exalted. Ooh, that's a good. Want to play Exalted so bad.
Yeah, I haven't done that one.
I have not played Exalted.
We played so many RPGs back in like 2005-ish range. We played like a lot.
Which was crazy because it was probably before, that was before the big RPG sort of boom that has happened within like the last 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
Because RPGs have become so vast and you have so many, I mean, once the apocalypse sort of system opened up and you could have people just throw on all these suits on this base set of rules for things, I mean, everything really just opened up in the indie sort of the indie sort of RPG scene. And then with things like Critical Role and stuff like that, making D&D so popular, it's just been, so it's been crazy to watch all of it unfold.
That's true, because like my brother watches that religiously, and that wasn't really around when we were playing. Because we played like in the 90s also, like lately. You played more than I did, but I played it like in the 90s and the early 2000s, and now it's gotten really popular.
Exactly. So like whenever you first went in, gosh, when you went to go play RPGs, you usually went into like these shady like looking game stores where you all sat there for like 12 hours. Yeah.
Like little plastic tables. People are like, what are you guys doing? We're like, we're
playing
RPG.
My first game store.
We're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're like, okay.
That was my first game store. I talked to people in the Valley about the first game store I went to, and even the people in the Valley are like, ooh, you went to where?
You went to Waterloo, which was like in the middle of downtown Gilbert, but nothing was built in downtown Gilbert at that time.
Apparently it was like the most seediest shadiest looking shop ever.
They had room for one table and like 4 bookshelves.
Yeah.
And yeah, you'd walk down a cement like ramp.
It's the closest one to my house, everyone. I can walk to it, okay? Yeah. That's how it went.
I went there to get my magic cards, but I mean, I never hung out in there. That'd be weird.
You love how I say zine. What is it? It's like a little mini magazine.
It's probably like magazine.
Zine. Maybe a zine.
Not zine.
I always call it zine. Sorry.
I think zine sounds
Hands
fancy.
down, though, if you all want to dip your toes into RPGs and you don't want a full thing, I totally recommend Cobalt to Eat My Baby. It's a super fun beer and pretzels sort of RPG. Very easy mechanics, lots of fun to get into.
You can die
very
while
inexpensive. Very inexpensive to get into, and it's easy to find people, I feel like, to play a fun, funny sort of RPG to start with, rather than going into a deep, like, dark, scary, gothic horror.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
as your start,
like
okay?
magazine, so zine. I think zine sounds cool, like we're rhyming it with nine.
You know
zine.
what?
Sounds more
it's a dramatic flair on the end.
If we say zine, does that sound more like we're speaking German, Jolly? I mean,
the dramatic flair that I add to the end of it. It's the zine.
Sein gut. Das sein gut? I shouldn't be allowed to speak other languages.
Oh, gosh, if that's a true story right there. Okay, next up we have Call of Kilforth. Okay, this is by Tristan Holm. And
All or Nothing Productions.
This is for 1 to 4 players, should last about 45 minutes per a player. Okay, so Tristan Hall has created this universe here, and he's created several games off of this universe.
Third one.
Is it the third or the fourth?
Because there was Gloom and Shadows, and now there's this one.
Okay, maybe there was like another little tiny mini expansion in there or something.
Maybe.
But this is a standalone expansion to the game. So you can play this just coming out of the gate. You don't know what the heck this is. Or if you have followed this company for a long time and this designer for a long time and you love this, then this is your new flagship right here. This is the new thing, okay?
And you can mix them too. They are mixable. I mean, look at that. Who doesn't want to play against that?
Aw, I still got Dark Eye 4th edition upstairs with no time for it. Yeah.
We've got a couple of different RPGs, and we've been whittling them down, but then we also we kind of back them every once in a while too. Oh, it doesn't sound like German. Too bad.
So with this one here, Doctor, what are your first impressions on this game right here?
So this one is card-based, right? You kind of have a Destiny type of situation where you're trying to go a certain path.
Yep.
You're unlocking things. It's very storytelling. You can go and complete quests inside the city. You can complete quests out in the plains and the mountains. You can fight things. So this one is a fleshed out RPG, right? Because like even a lot of RPGs that RPG style
Look at all these
card
cards.
games, even a lot of RPGs we've played, they've been, like, especially if you're playing, like, Dungeons & Dragons, they seem to be very combat-focused. You go to this place, this dungeon, and you fight these monsters, right? And it's all about your fighting stats. Where something like Vampire the Masquerade can
is
be very
more about, like, the
political
political portion of the story.
You can spend whole sessions without actually
not battling.
fighting.
No fighting,
It's more about trying to convince people to do things, and it's definitely more like real life is, like team dynamics, right?
Right.
So I feel like this is going to have a little bit of everything, right? It's really good for solo, but you can basically go and kind of do whatever you want to do. You can like level up through doing things like in the town before you go out and have to fight things. I think that's kind of cool. And it's very, like there's lots of dramatic, beautiful art.
Yes,
lots of
art
cards to discover.
Mwah.
There's a lot of different things you can do this one. One of the things you're going to do in this is hide. You're just going to hide. Like that's one of the things you can do in this is just hide. And sometimes that is just the right answer, to just hide. And the more health you have is that your health is equal to how many actions you have. So when you start off, you have like 4 health and you can do 4 actions. Later on in the game, you can get up to 8 health and do 8 actions. So there's lots of different things you can do.
Oh yeah, that was the really cool thing I thought, was the health goes directly to how many actions you have in the game. And I thought that was a really unique idea.
I always like that.
Because as you get
your
bigger,
health is your card pool, and then you get hit, you lose cards.
Right, it makes sense. It makes sense. And you get bigger, you get more influence, you get more, you level up, and that just allows you to do more things.
But as you're damaged, you have like less chance to do stuff, right?
Right,
you're limping
right, yeah. And that makes complete sense in a game. I really like that whenever they add that health sort of base mechanic in there for things. It's a really interesting one.
I know we have some Madara fans like in the audience, right? So I'm curious if they are also into this one. Now that one leans more like that anime style. This one this one leans like a high fantasy probably.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's got a lot of story to it. It seems more like a not Wheel of Time itself, but like Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings style like
fantasy based,
high fantasy kind of quest than it does like it's not a dungeon crawler. It's more of a, that's what I'm trying to say, is you're not just going into a dungeon, you're trying to kind of explore and do things.
Explore the world.
And you're exploring your character, right? You're trying to level up yourself versus just like, I'm going to go in this cave and fight these goblins.
Right, absolutely.
Which a lot of games we cover are. Like this Ancient Blood one is more of that style, where it's more about going in and fighting stuff.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes for the song here.
Don't look at your notes.
So Killforth is on Tabletopia as well. So if you're interested in the game, you can play the original game with this one here, which is always really nice. Let's see here. Was this one?
Like you said, this is the third time. This is like the third version of this one. And it seemed like it got like a 7.6 and got like as far as on BGG. And it had like, so that's a pretty good rating, 7.6. And it was pretty high up in thematic, like the thematic list. And then like the next one got an 8. And it's still high up in those thematic lists. So it seems like this is one that's just getting better. And like we've talked about before, typically with board games, they get better as they implement them more.
But yeah, the more sequels you have, like the better it's going to get. Yes. Usually. Because they
usually find ways to streamline the questions everybody has. They find unique ways to add things in. They can really change things up, right? So I think that was really big. So
the base price on this, I think, was $69 for it. I'm looking $69 US on here. And okay, and then
that's the Call of Kilforth.
Right, that's just this game, but the base game. Here's the thing. So over here, you have many options, which is good because you can actually get like everything. You really got to make sure which option you're choosing and what you're getting on this one here, because so like this one has this version here for the 171 has all of the Call of Kilforth stuff, but I think they also had one where you could get like the other stuff as well.
Yeah, and you can get the miniatures separately, so you have options.
Right, you have lots of options with this one here to go down. Because it is a card
game, and the one thing I heard is that when playing this, the one thing you kind of want to have more than anything else is the playmat, because it just kind of helps keep you organized.
Okay.
And they were saying that it does play really well as like a solo game, because if you add people, it does add more complications into it, but like it'd be good at like lower player counts. It seemed like is where you want to kind of settle with this, unless you've got just a full RPG group that just wants to go all night. And you got 4 of you that want to like form a full party and stuff. But the things that you do aren't dependent on other people and other tactics. You can just play this by yourself. You don't need to lean on like, well, you need to be the ranger and you're going to be the range DPS and I'm going to be the healer and this person's going to be like our shield. Like you don't need that with this one because there are a lot of different options.
So Studio Lanniston says that's a good price. And yes, it is. It's absolutely a good price. And the way that they've kind of done this to keep the price lower is the fact that, I mean, you have beautiful art on all of the cards, but a lot of this is card-based where you're putting out cards for different locations or different things that you're getting and everything. And that cuts down on all of tiles and, you know, all this other cardboard stuff.
Which is the opposite of what the Borderlands game did, which is like...
Right, which doubled down on all the miniatures and tiles and aspects like that.
Here's some tires you can hide behind.
But less RPG and, you know, stuff like that. And yeah, absolutely. Complete opposites on that. So Studio says, I think I'm leaning towards getting the Tanaris RPG over something like this because it has a solo mode and you can get, and then I have all these minis and other stuff anyways. Okay, that makes sense. Absolutely, that makes sense.
Yeah, and if you want minis, you're definitely going to get a lot more in something like a Tanaris, but this is very much story-based.
I liked their pun for this. It was Pimp My Call.
Well, they're changing it to deluxe because they used to call them the Pimp My, you know, like Pimp My Car, but they realized a lot of people don't like that.
Probably don't like that saying. That makes sense.
And it sounds cool to say like... It was
a cute pun, though, but that does make sense. I understand.
They said that Deluxe Gloom sounds cooler than Pimp My Gloom.
That's fair. That's fair. So, Doctor, are you backing this game? Chat, are you backing this game?
This is one that I think we've been interested in a few times. Since it is so story-based, I feel like I need a little taste of how that story plays out to know if I want to get it, right?
Well, maybe then the Tabletopia portion of it then would be good. So
that's why I'm kind of, this is in that realm of I'd like to try a little bit, get like a little taste of it, because we do have some other story-based games coming. So I would want to try this one a little bit to see if it's something that I'm going to be engaged enough in the story that I'm going to want to keep playing it.
Right, absolutely. Is it like
that Splendor of the Veil?
A little taste like our dog digging through to China? Like that?
No, I don't know what he's looking for. He's just digging.
What the heck? All right, I'm going to say on this one here,
Because we've been tempted by it before. Because we've covered one of the other ones before.
I know.
Because the art's really cool and everything.
I was going to say, I love it.
I think I just want to actually feel like how it actually plays with the mechanics and everything before I jump in on it.
Art in it. However, we have one final one to talk about here. And I have to say, between all of them, I think I might be interested in the final one we have to talk about more.
Call of Blood? Or Ancient Blood?
Ancient Blood. All right. Next up here, we have Ancient Blood, Order of the Vampire Hunters. This is by Darkgate Games. And they've only made a couple of games.
But they have made an Ancient Blood game before. They have made a game like this before.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one here is for 1 to 4 players. It's a cooperative game. You're playing as vampire hunters, and you're roaming along the lands and going through crypts and stuff like that and trying to rid the world of vampires.
Different vampire clans that fight differently.
Yes. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff behind this one. Okay, first off, this is the one where the story choices. You go choices down the land and you figure out where you want to go, and your story goes based upon those choices
like one of the examples is you see some people like kind of like they have like an old man huddled in the corner, and so you go over there and you try to stop him, and as you're doing that they're like, well, wait, he stole our money. So then you got to make the decision, well, do you push the thugs away, like leave this old man alone, or do you believe them and go, he stole your money, well, let me help you. So you have to really decide, like, do you help the thugs, do you help the old man? Like, do you believe them? Do you believe the old man? Like, they have conflicting stories. And then that choice might lead to another choice that can lead you on a completely different path than if you would have helped the old man instead.
Then you have the whole portion where you're actually fighting the vampires, like, in their areas. And
in their area. It's in their area.
You have the difference between daytime and nighttime. So, like, daytime, you go in there and you start stomping around. And like, they're sleeping. You're trying to murderize all of them before they wake up.
Here's the thing.
Because they get stronger in the evening.
If you can murder them in one shot, you're good. But if you don't, they wake up. And they wake up everyone around them. Because, they probably get up, they probably wake up like this. They're sleeping, and you stab them, and they wake up, and they go, alarm, alarm, alarm. We're under attack. It's an alarm. That's how vampires would talk. Yeah, so there's the day and night thing, like you said. So you can kill them by, like, busting out a window, for example, and letting sunlight in. But sometimes, depending on what your objective is, it might make sense to just try to sneak through them, which is something we really liked in Reichbusters.
I know, right?
Sneaking through was a very integral part of it, where you want to sneak until you don't.
You really want to try to work on that and to minimize what you're going to be doing. So
or does it make sense to try to kill some of them now so that when later, if you do wake them up, they're not out there in the hallway like, hey, what's happening to Bill?
So I just want to go back to our comments really quick. So I'm only here for all of you. No backing this week. Oh, thank you, Jolly. And Kabuki said, yeah, Dad, I'm backing anything as well. But December is a tricky month for backing. Yes.
It is.
So the other portion of this game here is that as you murderize vampires, you can collect vampire blood that also buffs you. However,
as always is the case with vampire blood.
It can become really bad all of a sudden, and you can turn into a vampire as you're fighting the vampires, which is also really bad.
Which can give you different negative things. Like, you might have to go get blood.
And then you have...
You got yourself a blade situation. What's happening?
Then you have a portion where you actually have somebody that's, like, outside the building that you can, like, take the vampires to, and they can, like, drag them outside to, like, explode and stuff.
Or you can find little pieces of manuscript that can teach you how to make a weapon, and then if you collect up enough of them, you can go to, like, a smith and have them create a weapon for you.
Right? Absolutely. And like you were saying before, since there are different types of vampires, you actually have to use different types of tactics on each of the different types of vampires.
Yeah, because there's fast vampires, and then there's, like, kind of like your heavy vampires. The fast ones, you have to have a fast weapon in order to hit them. But the heavy ones, the armored up ones, you want a slower weapon that does more damage. Otherwise, it's going to be blocked just by their body, right? Like, they're going to just absorb most of the damage.
Yeah.
But you are rolling dice. You're rolling your dice versus their dice.
Absolutely.
So there is
and plus
that little bit of, you're not just trying to roll like just a hit.
No.
You're rolling against their
dice,
which always makes it more swingy.
And your stats.
Right, it makes it more swingy, because if they roll really high, can negate your really high.
Right. Yeah, which is... I don't mind that as much because you still have base sort of things that you can get from, like, weapons and stuff like that. So you can still try to buff yourself.
Was kind of like that too, though, where sometimes you think, like, oh, I'm just going to roll this, and then you're like, oh, I made a lot of noise, and that caused all this other commotion to happen. Let's see here. Omar says, with only a few years in the hobby, I'm actually quite amazed how many Kickstarters come out
close to the holidays. That did not used to happen before. This is actually
I think it's
picked up within the last 2 years.
Well, it's so busy. I think that sometimes creators try to do it just because they're like, well, maybe they'll see our stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, right, like, if you put this up against something like Witcher's going to win because Witcher has that name recognition already. So people aren't going to look at this one as much. But they, like I said, they have made this game before.
Absolutely. So,
Not this exact game. They've made something in the same world.
Before, though, Omar, I want to say previous to the last 2 years, it was started like November, and it was November, December, January, February, and you would have 4 to 5 months in between where there was almost literally nothing to find on Kickstarter that was
It wasn't
good.
like a Santa-based game or something weird,
something like really light,
a COVID Monopoly or something.
Like it's only happened within the last 2 years where companies have been utilizing this area, and I feel like it's still kind of slow though in that January, February time. That like those are the downtimes. The downtime has decreased quite immensely over the last few years. It's been quite surprising.
Well, there's going to be some shakeups though too, because Kickstarter's going to start using blockchain, which a lot of people are upset about.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people might switch to Gamefound instead. And then there's like Miniature Market got bought out by Asmodee, but Asmodee just also got purchased. So there's like a lot of things shifting around right now in the board game world. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Asmodee is going to end up being like a Post cereal, like a Kellogg's. It's going to own
the
like
Kellogg's of
all
board
these
games.
multiple different small companies. And so you're like, no, I'm backing something from Plaid Hat. And you're like, well, that's owned by Asmodee. Well, I got this Days of Wonder game. They're like, that's owned by Asmodee.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get this from Miniature Market. That's owned by Asmodee. Like, it's going to be this whole thing. Like, you won't be able to escape it.
So right here, you do have these double-sided tile maps here, and you actually have areas within the map that you go to, not necessarily a grid sort of, or hex sort of system, but it is. You have like areas within the map. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, this is like
it's a little different.
This is very reminiscent to a lot of other dungeon crawlers that we've seen where you flip it over, there's sections that you can be in, right? And there's some art on them and everything. Seems like it comes with a decent amount of characters. Like that you can play as, and there's different elder clans. So I feel like they can really expand on that really well. There's
Hello, Walters.
If you play one character and I play another character, we're gonna have different special abilities. Like I'll have my own special ability cards, you'll have your own special ability cards, and I'll have to play them plus power them up with potentially with blood or something in order to play them. But like you said, if you drink too much blood, you can become corrupted. So cool. You can even do team tactics where like we can do things together by you using cards and using cards to do maximum damage, but I'm sure it's going to like use up a bunch of our cards.
Yeah, this game looks incredibly freaking cool,
and
everyone.
Although it's not a unique setting, right? It's been done before. Vampires have been done before. Just being
not
a
like
straight up
this,
vampire hunter doesn't happen as much.
Yeah, not like this. This is, I feel like
they're usually just incorporated in. Like there'll be vampire minions to fight, where this is very much you're going out to hunt specific clans.
Right. So like here's the thing. There's a lot of these games out there where you have bad guys, scenario-based games where you go in and, you know, you're playing as heroes or whatever it is. But since there are so many, I'm always looking for that definitive figures of what makes this different from all of these other ones. Because this is a type of game that we really like playing. Like this is a style of game. I know I really like playing. I don't know about you.
We like exploration games. We like these kind of tactical battle games.
Yeah, where you have cooperative features in it.
Well, I mean, I play them with you. We've played the crap out of Right
We'll set them
Busters.
up. Yeah, we'll set them up for a weekend, and we'll play the entirety of our weekends, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and
this
just do
does
that.
have a campaign style mode or just one-offs.
Yeah. And so I'm always looking for, okay, what makes this different? Like, why should I back this? What makes this not like Arcadia Quest? That makes it not like Reich Busters? Like, what separates it? And I really feel like it takes that little tiny piece from Reich Busters where you're going in and you're sneaking around, you're trying to do things with like this choicing ability. Like, there's so many unique features that have been added to this to make it such a unique gameplay from everything.
Right. If I had to compare it to a game, I think
Being
it's probably
the hunters,
closest to Reich Busters because of the different phases, like the sneak versus the all-out attack.
But then you can't like get rid of the whole story portion because I feel like it has more added story with the choices
where Reich
and
Busters
stuff.
is just like more scenarios.
Right, and then having like the different types of vampires you're battling. Like there's a lot of really unique
more
things
reminiscent
happening.
to some of the Come On ones, like maybe like the Others or something, where like you're fighting a unique type of
And then not only that, you don't always get the sort of vampire hunter sort of thing. Like that's not a thing that you usually end up playing.
You don't get to usually be a vampire hunter, right?
You're monster hunter. You might fight... Monster hunters have been hot this year.
Right, and you might fight against zombies, vampires, ghouls, like all these different things, but not usually like specifically just vampires. And I like that you have to switch your weapon and your tactics based off the one that you're fighting. Like you might have to do that mid-battle.
So Studio Lanniston says, these guys did Dark Ritual, which I really wanted, but it was one of the first campaigns I started saying no to. Like, no, I have too much of these already. I totally get that.
And I've heard that it's better than that one because, of course, it's newer, but also it has the advantage of that one. The first one, Dark Rituals, had a timer.
Yes.
So you could run out of time if the clock struck midnight or something like that. And so a lot of people didn't like that you would lose because of that.
Okay.
And this one is going to be more like you lose because you're getting beat up and stuff. Oh, hey,
hello,
Nosferatu shows up right for the vampire
right for the vampire one, Nos. So Studio Lanniston says, this game is the same. So this game is the same. It looks cool, but I can't fix it into my collection, and I don't know if I would complete well in my collection anyways.
It would compete. Okay. So he can't fit into his collection. He doesn't know if it's going to compete with the stuff he already has because he has a lot of this already.
Just want to be loved.
So, like I said, I think this one would compete with something like a Reichbusters, but I also think that since this one has more campaign, like long-term effects, because like we made our own things up in Reichbusters, but they were very much scenario-based, and there's a little bit of story, but it was more like Arcadia Quest has story in between, but you could switch characters in between, and it's not a big deal. And we did that because we thought it would be fun.
Because that's how our minds work.
This one, I feel like, is a character that you just want to play the same character as you kind of go through it until you kill them.
Absolutely.
And then they're dead, and then you feel sad.
Well, and then you mourn them, and you make a little shoebox with their little miniature in it.
So it sounds like you are of the same mind as me, because I was also, I think, most interested in this one and then Vaesen.
Yes, yes! I'm so interested in this, everyone.
Of course you are.
So interested. Nosferatu says, everyone's wrong. This looks dope. I agree, Nosferatu. This is the game I am most freaking excited about right now.
And I want to say thank you, Christopher, for sharing our post. Really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
So, of course, Nosferatu's in on this one, even though you are hunting vampires. So does this remind you of maybe playing out as that anime, Vampire Hunter D or something?
I tell you what, this
Castlevania on Netflix?
This reminded me of World of Darkness, the Hunters.
Oh, playing the Hunter?
Yeah, absolutely. Campaign? Like, if they had made this a World of Darkness sort of subset game, like I would have been. I'm already excited about it. I would have had. Yeah, I would have died. I just would have literally just died.
My life can't get any better. Just die. Pinnacle.
Right.
Euphoria
Absolutely.
Reached.
Absolutely. Because it would have. Because that's how it feels to me. That's exactly how it feels to me. Like you're a group of not necessarily ragtag vampire hunters, but like you've been around for a little bit. And
the new one, the new anime, where you're running. There's a magic user. There's somebody that uses swords. They're hunting. Wow. They literally hunt vampires. Were you not? You were there when we watched it, right?
I was watching it.
Okay, I thought you were.
I'm most excited about this
the vampire clan stuff. I think it's interesting because whenever they introduce clans like this, they really change how the whole game can go based off of what clan you're fighting against.
Yes.
And it sounds like each of the elders has like their own little kind of brood. And they have their own abilities, and then you're almost like you're attacking certain abilities they have to try to knock those abilities out to weaken them.
Yep.
But like obviously you're taking hits as you're doing this, so there's a little bit of push and pull.
So Nosferatu says, PlayStation 1 Soul Reaver Legacy of Kain, the board game. I'm a vampire, but I hate vampires.
You got lots of magic and swords. That makes sense because you are very much kind of like in a hunter type situation where you are like, I'm going to drink a little bit of this blood.
Just a tiny bit of blood.
So that I can kill these things I hate.
Just for the help, just a tiny bit of help.
It's almost like if you were like a soldier and you're like, I'm just going to do a little cocaine to take out these cocaine drug dealers and put them down because they are a bane to everybody. They're super horrible. So I'm just going to do a little cocaine to stop these cocaine people.
Okay.
That's it. It's very simple.
You still have big boss battles too where you work cooperatively against the big bad guy here. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. Like, honestly, I just want more of this game. I want to play this game like right meow. The miniatures look amazing.
Yeah.
Like they didn't make it fantasy-based vampire ridiculousness. They made it freaking...
There's no Edward Cullens in here running around?
Well, they made it like...
Trying to kiss
dark horror and like, okay, like the women in here are actually like, they look like they're ready to knock someone out, sort of thing,
that
and
guy's got
everything.
like a kukri sword, like an angled sword.
Right? Like everybody just looks incredibly BA in here.
That guy right there is just gonna snap and kill everybody Thanos style.
Everything looks fantastic. Like I cannot freaking wait. Yeah, I want to back this game. Like hardcore. Did I even write down the money things on this?
I think one of them was like 185 or something.
I don't know. I don't
so
think I
I'm
wrote
hoping
down the
that we
minis.
can find like a base pledge to make sure that it's something. But then if it ends up being one of those ones, you can go and look. I'm hoping that it's not super expensive.
Let's see here. Okay, so there's stretch goals, add-ons, expansion. What's inside the boxes?
Nosferatu's going to add glitter to it just to make it Twilight.
What? No, don't do that. Don't do that.
So they're talking about if Marvel had it, it would be like you're hunting Morbius and
Ooh, I saw that preview.
Yeah, we just saw Spider-Man, the new one.
Okay, so Slayer pledge here, deluxe pledge that contains all three of them. You can go further down though, where you're getting just a few with the Hunter pledge.
Okay, that's not bad. I think the Hunter pledge.
I think the Hunter pledge is the least expensive one.
But
is it?
Yeah, but at least you can get into it. It does come with the stretch goals, it looks like. I mean, we would look more into this before we hit the back button. That one right there does say, and all unlocked stretch goals. And Spikes and Fangs box. So you are getting 2 boxes still, which I think the way, if I remember correctly, it was like you got 3 elders in the base, and then like they've unlocked at least 1 more elder. So you're going to get like around 3 or 4 elders that you can fight against, like different clans.
Well, this elder has a mustache, like a crazy vampire mustache.
In just the base, and then obviously as you get more, you're getting more clans and stuff.
Wow, that all-in hurts. Well, yes and no, because I don't think it's too far away from some of the other all-ins.
The all-ins are getting crazy.
They are.
That's why they're starting to offer financing for them.
Yeah, don't do it.
So that's kind of why I'm going for kind of the base. I try to go for which one I feel like has the most value, and to find out if it's something that I just have to have more of, right? Or is this going to be something that, so I guess a good example is like, is this going to be something like a 1 or 2 season show that I want to watch, but I don't want to have 8 seasons of it because it just gets diluted and boring after a certain point in time?
We've actually started doing that quite a bit lately.
Like The Watchmen on HBO was a really great one series, and I can see why they stopped it, because like that was the story. They wrapped up the story. It was perfect.
Yeah.
But then, if they would have tried to stretch that out like Lost, where they try to make it like 8 seasons long, after a while you start to get like, why am I still watching this?
Kickstarter needs its own credit card. Don't start. Don't start, Nosferatu.
They're going to be Bitcoin only. I'm going to have to go to the dark web and farm Bitcoin.
So, I want to back that game. Doctor, you want to back that game. Chat,
yeah.
What do you think? I know Nosferatu wants to back that game.
The 3 of us will back it.
Together, and then with us united, we shall.
Here's what we can do. So, we pay half.
Okay.
Nosferatu pays half.
Okay.
We have it shipped to our house.
Uh-huh.
We let Nosferatu watch us play it.
I don't think
that's
going to work out the way you want.
Yeah, I know HBO wanted them to do more Watchmen, and the creator was like, nah, I'm good. I told my story. And I respect that. Like,
you got to respect it. You got to respect that. Yeah.
If you've only got a story,
They're like, I'm not going to mess this up. Like, I don't think so.
While you were on top.
Nosferatu. I don't know about this as Nosferatu. Okay.
We explained it early in the show, Nosferatu. Since you showed up late, you missed out on why this makes sense.
So, final burritos. Let's get our burritos.
Your weird cat
What
burrito.
What are we going to spend our burrito money on? Hold on.
So
let me get my burrito out.
I'm excited about
my
Vaesen,
change purse.
And I'm excited about Ancient Blood. I think realistically, with the type of content we do, we'll probably end up playing Ancient Blood before we play Vaesen. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm leaning towards Ancient Blood. That's what I would spend my burrito on.
We have Call of Kilforth, Ancient Blood, Vaesen, and Borderlands. Yeah, I went through all of the Kickstarters this week, and I was like, oh, that's good. Oh, like, that's good. Oh, I like that, too. But then once I hit Ancient Blood, which was the last one I had looked at, I was just like, I got the Kickstarter high. Like, I wanted. I was like, oh, yes, like, I want this in my life. Like, I'm so excited.
I really want to lure a bunch of vampires towards a window and then throw out the window.
And then be like, ha,
or do some like Dawn to Dusk type stuff where I stick a vampire and then drag him out with a truck on a chain.
Right? That would be amazing.
Come on, that's the way you want to do it.
Come on, everyone. I forgot about that movie, Dusk Till Dawn. That was a good movie.
It had moments.
That was, I'm gonna go back and watch it. It was that Tarantino flick. It
had moments.
Well,
some of it
you
was
didn't realize it was a vampire movie right away. You were like,
yeah. But they also had like the gun that was down here.
Yeah.
That was a little ridiculous. I'm not putting anything
the shooter with the 2 barrels.
Yeah.
The double barrel shooter.
I think it had like 2 magazines for it, like, you know, 2 like revolver round things.
Yeah, 2 revolver rounds.
It was very reminiscent of a thing.
Very interesting. Like 2 movies stapled together. I know, right? It was a surprise. Surprise! We're going in a different direction.
So maybe that was a John Carpenter one I'm thinking of, where they stab somebody with the stake and drag them out. We've seen a lot of vampire movies.
What was that one? I know I've seen it. What was that?
Yeah, where they stake them and then they drag them out. That might have been a John Carpenter one. But I don't even remember what the title of it was.
I don't remember.
So there's a lot. There's a lot of good vampire movies out there. I was actually just thinking about 30 Days a Night, or 30 Nights, or whatever that one was. I remember thinking that one was interesting, but it's been a while since we've seen it. I want to watch it again. Gotta go back.
Well, thank you for everybody who joined us today. If you're new to the channel, make sure to give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and then ring the bell to get notified whenever we go live, because we plan on doing more of that in the future here, okay?
Tell your cool friends about us.
Tell your cool friends.
Not your loser friends at work. Your cool friends that like stuff that's awesome.
What about just tell all of the friends? Tell all the friends at work? Tell all the people.
John Carpenter's Vampires was the one with the winch in the truck. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. See, Kabuki's here to back us up on all this nonsense. Other things that we want to have coming up. So we played Lizard Wizard.
Oh yes, we did play Lizard Wizard.
We played Lizard Wizard. Yeah, we want to bring that to the table. I'm going to have the next 2 weeks off from my job, so I'm hoping to do some organizing of the Gloryhound channel stuff and getting some stuff up. I know I want to play Inscription with all of you, because that's a really exciting game. That's a computer game. I'm really excited about that game. I just want to play more and more of it, everyone.
You've been playing that one a lot.
Yeah, I have. In bed. It's been lovely.
I highly recommend, if you want to spend a bunch of money to play Ants Underground Kingdom. It's an app game. It's a war game where you build a base.
Hope that everybody has a super, super fantastic holiday, and you eat lots of food and have lots of merriment.
And join us on Discord. People have been sharing that they're getting Uprisings delivering. Oh, Unsettled's another one that should be delivered. Unsettled is another one that should be delivered fairly soon.
So many good games.
A lot.
So many good games. Battlecry. We're your friends, okay? Everybody in this chat's your friend. How dare you?
I mean, I'm sorry this is the best you could do, but we're here. We're here.
Is there anything else going on?
No, I don't think so. I think so. Yeah, come to Discord, hang out, talk about games that you're getting. If you're playing games, let us know. Show us pictures so I can be jealous.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not playing as much as I used to right now.
I know. It's been so busy.
Happy Festivus for the rest of us.
That's right. Hello, DS. You were just missing the stream. We're just getting ready to sign off. And I believe that's it. So all of you have a lovely, lovely holiday. We will see you all soon. Bye.